Good morning, everyone. Seeing the pictures messed up on the wall. No big deal. How's everyone doing? We got race day. Finally made it home. I've been gone. Daughter had curling camp all week, so things have been a little working out of my element, but I got my office back set up. Ready to go for the Consumers Energy 400, second race here at Michigan International Speedway. First thing here, I'm going to share, where is it here? I'm just going to find the cheat sheets if anyone wants to follow along. With this new YouTube live streaming right now, I'm not able to share my screen. So I like to do that just to kind of give you an idea of what's on the sheet and kind of go through the sheet and stuff like that. But not going to be able to do that today. So I'm going to share the sheet because I will be following along through it and answering questions with the sheet, looking at practice times, looking at track history, track type history, all that kind of stuff. So I will get the link here and share it before I get going answering any questions. Good, smoking guns. Who's your top driver today? Right off the top of your head, give me your top driver to win. There is the sheet. My top driver, just off the top here, it's not Kyle Busch this week. I do think he's got a good shot. I think he's a great DFS play, starting 22nd, so it gives you that elite place differential, double-digit place differential. But I'm with Harvick. He qualified, was narrowly edged out by Keselowski, but the big difference in those two was Saturday with practice times. Harvick led second practice, first in 10-lap averages, and actually, I'm just going to bring it up here, pretty happy yesterday seeing, I don't know if this has been out for a while now, but on NASCAR.com, when you go and follow the practices live, you can actually go into the lap averages tab now, which was always empty before and never really showed anything. And what is there now, you can actually look at the overall 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, depending on how many, what track they're at and stuff like that. Obviously, the shorter tracks, we're going to get up to 30 lap averages, but we can see those shorter averages, not just the fastest time, which can be deceiving. Not this weekend because it's a regular weekend, but on other weekends because you don't know if they're running qualifying runs, if they're taping up the front and going for a couple qualifying hot laps, or if they're doing long runs. So this way, we can really break down the data into 5, 10, 15, 20 lap runs and kind of see how the cars are performing over, a small sample size versus, getting into those long runs. So it's I love it. It's like a late birthday present. So, but looking at Harvick in second practice there, this is final practice. Final practice, he was fifth overall. And then you look at the 5-lap averages, he was 4th overall. 10-lap averages, he was 3rd overall. Get up to 15-lap average. He drops down a bit, so the long run speed did go away a little bit in final practice, but he was there in 5, 10, 15-lap averages. And 1-lap average there as well in the opening practice on yesterday morning. So definitely think he's going to be the top guy. And we've seen here in June, Joey Logano absolutely dominated. I believe he led 163 laps in that race here in June. So dominator can definitely happen here. We've actually seen in the last 6 races, there's been one driver to lead 100-plus laps in 3 of the last 4 races. And then when you break it down further, thinking is there going to be multiple dominators, maybe a couple drivers that lead 50-plus? Trends say no. Looking at the drivers that have led 50-plus laps, there has been only that one in 2 of the last 3. And then 4 races ago, there was 2 that led 50-plus. The 2017 first race, so both races in 2017 seen 2 drivers lead 50-plus, but only 1 driver lead 100-plus. 0 in 2016 in that second race. So there's not even a lot of drivers, I don't think we're going to see multiple drivers lead 50-plus. We could see either, Harvick dominate, or we could see 2 drivers kind of right around that 40 to 60 lap sled, somewhere in their range. So yeah, he does fall back, but he does got that dominator potential. Even earlier in the year when he fell back and he had those fast cars qualifying up front, he still got out there and led a ton of laps. So I'm definitely looking at that for Harvick, and I'm just going to bring up some of that data now because that is concerning that he maybe wasn't on earlier in the year, even though they did show speed in practice. And, they finish up front. and stuff like that, but not finishing as well. But as long as, I mean, if you're getting 100 laps led out of him and he finishes 10th and maybe lose a little bit of place differential there, I think that, you know, that laps led, those dominator points, those fast laps, those are going to definitely help him more, obviously, on DraftKings and FanDuel. And then the other story here is Daniel Hemrick and Austin Dillon. Their qualifying times got thrown out. Just, it was an alternator issue. It kind of sounds like it's kind of not all the, I don't think all the information is out there on that, but pretty much what it seems like they were doing is the alternator was either wired in a way where it seemed like it was working, but it actually wasn't, or it was just like a hollowed out alternator, just to try and get, you know, 1-2 more horsepower, just to get a little bit more speed, couple tenths, couple hundredths of a second kind of thing to qualify, which they did, but they got caught in inspection and they will start from the back. They are going to be likely number 1 and 2 in ownership on DraftKings, where place differential is huge, super chalky. That's if you want to fade them, I'm more inclined to fade them on FanDuel, where the place differential maybe isn't as much. We can find guys who can maybe in the same range finish the same or better. Obviously, we would need them to finish a little bit better if they're the same price, just because of that place differential. But I definitely think that FanDuel is a place where I'm more inclined to fade them. But I will have a lot of exposure to both just because of their place differential upside this week. Okay, back to Harvick here. Looking at some of his qualifying. Yeah, he started first at Kansas, led 104 laps, ended up finishing 13th there. He started second at Chicago. He finished 14th, but he led 132 laps. So he's been leading a ton of laps, it seems, in these races. He started first at Las Vegas, ended up finishing 4th, led 88 laps. So when he's starting up front, he's at least getting to the laps led when he's showing a fast car in practice. So that's why I'm kind of inclined to use him, is if he can get out front in the clean air at Michigan, kind of like very similar to what Logano did. I think he can be a driver that can lead 100-plus laps. Just with, he's got the fastest car at the track all weekend. So definitely looking at that. Like, he literally hasn't, he was 6th in opening practice, which I don't really look at. I mean, they are setting up these cars before they come to the track, so they'll roll them off the truck. So it is good to see that he was 6th, you know, top 10, because you see a lot of these guys had a ton of trouble in opening practice and then slowly got better through the weekend. So they obviously didn't set the car up right off their notes from the June race, put them a little bit behind the 8 ball. But Harvick and the 4 team has been just absolutely steady the whole entire weekend. Another team, his teammate, Stuart Haas, really set their cars up good coming into the weekend. Clint Boyer came in. He was 7th in opening practice. He's going to start 5th. He was 6th in both practices on Saturday, and 11th and 2nd in 10-lap averages. So he's shown a consistently fast car all weekend as well, and I honestly don't think he's going to be as high on to some of these other guys. I really like Clint Boyer as a GPP play this week. I would even consider using him in all formats, but I don't think on DraftKings that's a way I'll go, just because for cash games, that is, just because he's starting 5th. I don't think he's going to give you the dominator points that you're going to need from someone starting 5th. I think he's a top 5 car for sure, but I don't think he's going to give you those laps led. So there's a little bit of risk there with losing some place differential. So he's more of a GPP play for me. Whereas I'll go with Eric Jones for cash games on DraftKings, starting 16th. He gives you that place differential. He's been a top 5 car all day on Saturday. He led final practice. He was fastest in 10-lap averages, 5-lap averages, 15-lap averages. 4th in the first practice yesterday, 2nd in 10-lap averages. I believe he was 3rd in 15-lap averages. So he's got a super fast car and only 8,500 and gives you that place differential. So Jones for cash games on DK. Boyer would be my pivot for GPPs there. Boyer on FanDuel, I will consider in all formats. Only 9,400. Like I said, he's had a fast car all weekend. Place differential isn't as important. He is starting 5th. I think he can finish 5th. You know, I think he has upside of top 3 finish. And his floor is kind of like 5th to 7th kind of thing, 5th to 8th. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at those 2 mid-tier guys that are put together. Morning, Andre. How's things going today? If you guys got specific questions as well, just make sure to rifle off what site you're playing, cash games, GPPs. Give me as much information as possible. Then I don't ramble on as long. But Bowman, I love Bowman today. I think he's going to be low-owned, like outside top 10, maybe even top 15 ownership. starting fourth. Top 5 car in final practice. He showed top 5 speed in long run speed in the second practice, like the first one yesterday, Saturday morning. So it looks like he's got top 5 upside. If he's going to be low owned, somewhere in that 10 to 15% owned range in GPPs, I'm all over Bowman as a play. I love this mid range this week. And I think stars and scrubs, as it usually is, especially with people trying to go after Harvick or Busch, whether you're going for dominator or place differential, I think stars and scrubs is going to be the preferred way to go. Especially, I can name off about 5 or 6 value plays down here in the bottom that I absolutely love this week. So I can easily tell it's stars and scrubs. Like, you're going to see Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, probably even Brad Keselowski because he's starting on the pole, although I'm not as high on Keselowski this week. His practice speeds kind of scared me off, and with Harvick starting right beside him with the fastest car in Michigan this weekend, I think Harvick is the better play, especially if Keselowski is going to be around the same ownership. I'm going to take Harvick all day, but I think Busch, Truex, Hamlin, I think they get a whole bunch of ownership this week. Eric Jones, obviously, in the mid-range, and then, like I said, all the value guys. So I think there's some to pivot to some of these value guys, or no, sorry, not value guys, but projected lower owned guys, especially in the mid-tier. When building, I built some lineups last night and really concentrated on like a balanced lineup to get away from Busch, Harvick, Truex, Keselowski, Logano, and somewhat Hamlin. He was in some of those builds, but if you start your builds kind of down looking at like Bowman, Kurt Busch, Boyer, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, Ryan Newman, Busher, Austin Dillon, obviously Daniel Hemrick kind of getting into the lower range now, but Dillon's 7K and up on draft. You start getting into that balanced build, you're, especially on FanDuel where you want that finishing position a little bit more than the place differential. I mean, you're building a lineup. Single stars and scrubs is you put that one guy in there from the lower range. You need him, to kind of finish up there, or you at least need your other 4 drivers to kind of finish top 5 for you to win a GPP. Versus, if you go with a more balanced approach, you can sometimes get, depending, and I think this is one of those weeks where we can get all 5 drivers on FanDuel inside the top 10, and that's going to put you easily into cash and GPPs, at least triple 4x in your money kind of thing. So I think a balanced approach can be a little bit low owned, and I think it can be very optimal this week as well. The member sheet on DFSR, just hold on and I will post it in there for you. I believe it's in the other chat room, and to find that other chat room, just make sure to go down to the bottom right, click that the menu button, which is kind of there in gray, then click on chat, and then the NHL/PGA/NASCAR chat, and there it is. But I just posted it in the main chat room there in DFSR. It's also posted on rotopros.com on our chat there as well, our Slack chat. I just posted it right below the video link as well. So I got it up on both sites now, so you can easily find it. Just kind of open up here, look at one more thing. I'm trying to load the last couple baseball lineups here as well, so bear with me. I'm going to get back to, yeah, no problem, JP. Member cheat sheet. Okay. Hey, Brandon Cruz, how's it going? Okay, that's not working. Just trying to get a link up here. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so a couple other notes with the PJ1. I talked about it earlier in the week. NASCAR put a layer of PJ1 about 40 feet wide up on the top groove. What they're trying to do is get drivers to kind of go up there. It's going to hopefully help create some more passing because, I mean, with this new aero package, obviously we've seen Logano get out there and dominate. It was very hard to pass the leader in clean air. And we did see in the final practice, Kyle Busch actually got up there quite a bit in the final laps of practice in the final practice yesterday. Not all 4 tires. I wouldn't say he was completely in the PJ1, but near corner exit, he would get up there at least with his right side tires. And we've seen he made 2 runs at it, 2 laps in a row, and he was able to make some passes by getting up there and making passes on the outside. So it looked like it could help, and NASCAR has added actually, I believe, another 20 feet. Drivers were advocating for it last night. after practices and stuff. They got their wish. They added a little bit more to it. So I think we see a little bit more passing, make it a little bit easier to pass on corner exit. It's not so much in the corner where they're worried about it. It is that corner exit where they can get that little bit extra grip and jump going into the backstretch and be able to make some extra passes out there, which is kind of good for the fans. It's good for the drivers. It's kind of good for everything. So, I mean, this whole new rules package has brought a whole new element, downforce, 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 when it comes to setting up these cars versus the old days. But give it to NASCAR. They're listening to drivers. They're listening to fans. They're making changes. They're trying to make the racing better. And we've seen some excellent races this year. We've seen some bad ones. I mean, go back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30, 40, 50 years, depending on how long you've watched NASCAR. There's been good races in every season. There's been bad races in every season. Everyone just kind of lives in the moment and just, I don't know, wants to complain about it. But I'm the kind of person, I'm just going to enjoy it. I don't care what NASCAR does to change the rules. I love NASCAR. Same with any sport. They make balls and strikes automated in baseball, or the offside rule in hockey. Sure, I don't agree with some rule changes, but I'm still a fan. I'm still gonna watch, and I'm still gonna be enthused. But anyways, that's my little push on that. So we talked about the PJ1. Yeah, having a great morning. Finally back home, sitting here in my office. My girls are sleeping. They're real tired from the long drive yesterday. And I'm just going. I was going to build 150 laps. I definitely got home. I got home late last night. Wasn't able to get that many in. I'm maybe doing about 50 today. So got a fairly big player pool, I guess you could say. Would you use Austin, Dillon, and Hamrick, or pivot off them in GPP? Well, I think you got to have some exposure, especially on DraftKings. I think they're going to be upwards of 60% owned, 50, 60% owned, both of them. Probably Dillon a little bit more than Hamrick. But even if Austin Dillon gets up and finishes, let's say, 25th today, coming from 37th, that's 12 bonus points that he's going to get on top of the 25th finishing bonus, on top of some of the fast laps that he may get. Just the place differential on DraftKings, if they're going to fade, I would fade a little bit more on FanDuel, like I said, where place differential isn't as important. Thoughts on Stenhouse? Yeah, myself, I'm not a big Stenhouse guy today. I seen, in some, ownership projections that he's going to be up there. I'm not quite on board with that myself. He qualified 18th. He was 30th in practice 2, 20th in practice 3, and 25th and 24th in 10-lap averages in those practices. So, I mean, he hasn't even shown top 20 speed after his qualifying in any practice, any 5-lap, 10-lap, 15-lap run. And then you talk about his track history. He's starting 18th. He's only finished better than that twice here in 13 career races. 19th, 18th, 29th, 18th, 8th, 27th, 29th, 26th. That was the last 7 races. He's been better on this package, but I mean, he was only 19th here in June, and he started 10th. So he actually even showed some more speed than he's showing this week. Last time he was here when he started 10th, and he fell back 9 spots in that race. So the fact that he's starting 18th, I kind of think that's maybe where he finishes, maybe even worse. I don't think he's a top 20 car myself this week, unless they make some major adjustments in race to get that thing fixed up. But even going and looking at Ryan Newman, sticking in the same team here, he started 20th, so they both kind of qualified the same. Newman came out, he was only 21st in practice number 2, which was the first one on Saturday, but they really found it in final practice. He's 11th in final practice, 10th in 10-lap averages. If we go look at final practice and look at the 15-lap averages to see if he ran one, he did not. Only 10 drivers ran 15-lap averages. We look at the 5 laps, and we see him up there in 6th. So, I mean, he showed a lot more speed, so I'm more inclined to go Newman than Stenhouse. I mean, there's a price difference there, but seeing that Stenhouse struggled while his teammate showed speed in his car kind of showed a little bit concerned. I mean, we talked about Harvick earlier, how he was fast all weekend. Look at his teammate, Clint Boyer, we were talking about. He's been fast all weekend as well. And then you see Eric Almirola. He qualified 12th, but he's 24th in practice 2, 21st in practice 3, 27th in 10-lap averages, and 23rd in 10-lap averages in those 2 practices. So there's another example of a car in the same team with a bunch of strong cars that are all of a sudden Almirola is showing nowhere near the same speed as his teammates. So seems to be a little issue there. So I tend to stay away from that. Do you think Harvick will have trouble since it's a 550 horsepower race? No, I mean he's been on those before. He's led laps. He's got out front. He's led laps on those before. Coming back here to a track where he's been very good at. He was 7th here in June. I think he can definitely top that. He's showing a ton more speed than he did here in June. I'm actually going to bring that up as well. While I'm just going to talk about Harvick, he's got going back 13 races. He's got 10 top 10s and 9 top 5s along with a win. That includes 6 runner-up finishes here at Michigan too. So he's been very strong here, although he's only got that one win, which was at this race last year. I'm just going to kind of bring up, and one site that I do use a ton, fantasyracingcheatsheet.com. I've been using for years. Something I really like looking at, something I really utilize almost every week when I'm looking at practice speeds and stuff like that, is actually going back to previous races. So I'm going to go back to Michigan. I'm going to look at the practice speeds of some of the drivers and see how they finished. So Harvick was one I wanted to look at. He looked like first, 23rd in practice 1 and first in the second practice. So he was up and down with practice. It looked like he had kind of a car right in between there when it came to the race because he finished 7th. This week, he's been dominant all weekend. And when that number 4 car has shown that it's been dominant when it comes to 5, 10, 15 lap averages, fastest times, pretty much throughout practice on the whole entire weekend, he's got out there and he's led laps and he's been a dominator driver. And now that he's got that win under his belt finally this season, I think he's really going to get rolling. So I'm not worried about Harvick at all. He's definitely my top driver. Yeah, mini Michigan at Kansas there, that 104 laps. I'm definitely with you, Gary. I wouldn't say Harvick isn't good this year. I mean, he's led laps. He hasn't got the wins. They haven't been able to, early on they struggled with in-race stuff. Weren't able to get out there. But like I said, he's led laps this year. And I'm just going to go look at, like from fantasy scoring perspective, when it comes to average DraftKings scoring, he's second in the whole, give me just 2 seconds here. I got to sort this column. Seem to be all out of whack. Harvick is, talking DraftKings, he is 5th in average DraftKings points per race this season. And when we're talking FanDuel, he goes down a little bit to 8th. So he's 5th and 8th in DraftKings and FanDuel scoring on the season level. And then you start looking at last 6 races, DraftKings average, he is 4th. And FanDuel a little bit lower. So he's been better on DraftKings. That's because he's getting those laps led. So I wouldn't say he's not good this year. He's got a win now. They're a strong car on one of the strongest teams who's starting to find it here down the stretch. We've seen teams kind of come and go this year in terms of speed. We've seen the Toyotas all really fast while the Chevys struggled and even Stewart-Haas struggled, while Joey Logano in the Penske with Brad Keselowski were doing good. Then we've seen Chevy come on and have a good run. And then I think Stewart-Haas, they've had their runs, but I think with Harvick having a win now, I think he's got some confidence and, he's just shooting for more wins. So definitely on Harvick. I really wouldn't. I'm not looking at any particular drivers, I guess. This is for Donald asking about the PJ1 compound, what drivers we should be paying attention to. I guess for the most part, just watching final practice yesterday, Kyle Busch was testing it a lot, so I think he's going to be getting up there. Especially, I think the reason he got up there and was using it lots is because he's starting 22nd. He's starting back in the field, and he's going to have to get around those cars to get up front. So he's trying to find new ways to get up front and faster. So I think he's one driver that's going to be using that PJ1. He showed that he was no fear getting up there and using it in practice. Kyle Larson's another one that shows up just because he loves running the outside. So get that PJ1 up there, he's probably going to be more inclined to run that outside with passes on the outside. Those are 2 names that really come to mind right off the bat. Guys like Harvick, he's more of a low-line guy, it seems like, so I think we see him more on the bottom. But I think a lot of guys will give it a try, especially guys more back in the field that are going to need to make passes in that dirty air, especially with this new package. Just looking over here at some questions. You're wondering why my head's all sideways. I got multiple screens set up here today. Suarez or Buescher on DK? Buescher for me. I think Austin Dillon's obviously going to be the highest owned driver when it comes to DraftKings today. Buescher was my top value play in the sub 75, sub 8K range on DraftKings to begin with this week. I'm just going to bring up his track history here real quick and look at his last races. Like, he's been one of the top value plays all season when it comes to this range. We go over and, you know, just looking at I am on the wrong driver. There we go. Like, for the season, he's averaging 31.7 DK points per race, 52.8 FanDuel. That's the most in the sub 75 range. Daniel Suarez is right there with him, actually. Like 0.4 points separate them, 0.7 on FanDuel. So they've been very close. Suarez had some trouble with his car. He got loose, hit the wall. I believe they're still in their primary car, so there's a little bit of damage there, which could cause some issues on an aero track like this. But Buescher starting 25th over Suarez 11th, definitely on board. He showed top 15 speed. So I think Buescher's floor is kind of 20th to 25th. I think he's probably got upside of 15th to 20th in there as well. So for me, Ellis, it is Buescher over Suarez all day long. Thoughts on Larson and Hamlin? Yeah, like I said, balanced build I definitely like. Larson starting 17th gives you place differential. He's showing top 5 upside in terms of long run speed. Top 10, I think he's kind of 10th place, 10th, 11th place when it comes to his floor, and I think his upside is winning upside. So definitely on board with Larson at 8,300. That's just too cheap for him, especially, like I said, he likes the outside. He's got that PJ1 compound. I think he's going to get, and a 7th place finish gives him that double-digit place differential. So I think that's definitely attainable for him today. Hamlin starting 14th. Yeah, he's going to be strong. He hasn't been as strong. I think I'd rather go a little bit more balanced build if you're doing cash games. I mean, I don't personally play cash games on GPP only, but like getting Larson, Jones, Bowman, even Kurt Busch in there as well if you want, starting 13th. I think you can go with those 4 guys. And like Ryan Newman, I think, works in cash games. Chris Buescher works in cash games. Austin Dillon, obviously, is a lock in cash games. So I don't think you need to go up into that 9,500 plus range on DK. So definitely keep that in mind when you're building. I mean, you can, because there's a lot of value plays that I do like Hamrick and Dillon together. You can get Harvick and Busch and build a lineup that way. But I do like the balanced build, especially for cash games. And that goes across almost all sports for me. Okay, so back to Donald here. If it's hard to pass at Michigan, how are Dillon, Hamrick, Busch going to make top 20? Okay, hard to pass just means it's more challenging to pass. Doesn't mean it's impossible at all, especially when we're talking the top cars. Getting inside the top 20 is not the biggest of challenge. Kyle Busch can probably get to the top 10 before the end of stage 1, before the first pit stop. I bet you he can get 10 to 12 places. He's got a fast car. He's got an elite team. There, him moving forward to the top 10. It's when you start getting inside that top 15, top 10, where the cars get more competitive. So getting from 22nd to 10th isn't going to be the biggest challenge for Kyle Busch. It's when he gets there, he's then going to have to try and get on the same strategies, if he's gone off strategy at all, to get his car, because he didn't show the fastest times in final practice, although he showed top 5 upside in opening practice. So I imagine what they're going to do is take that first practice from Saturday morning and put that setup on the car to start the race. So I think he can move through the field pretty fast. And, I don't think he's necessarily going to be winning upside today, although it's possible. He's won from the back before, top 5. When it comes to Austin Dillon, he's got a faster car. Him and Hamrick have got, especially Dillon, has got a faster car. I mean, he's going to be able to pass those bottom markers like Spencer Boyd, Cody Ware, Austin Terrio, Garrett Smithley, Quinn Hoof, Landon Castle, David Reagan, Matt Tiff, Corey LaJoy, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, at least 10 to 15 drivers. It's not going to be hard to pass those guys. They don't have the same equipment. So getting Austin Dillon and Hamrick inside the top 25 is not going to be that challenging, just because it's air quotes, hard to pass at Michigan. Hard to pass is going to be, it's hard to pass the leader, and we've seen that. No one could get around Joey Logano in June. Cars could move through the field. Don't get that wrong. I mean, we've seen 5 drivers picked up double-digit place differential points last week, or sorry, in June. So there were 5 drivers to pick up double-digit place differential. Martin Truex Jr. started 16th, finished 3rd. Kyle Busch started 15th, finished 5th. Ryan Newman started 18th, finished 8th. Alex Bowman started 20th, finished 10th. Chris Buescher started way back in 31st. He's got comparably the same kind of car as Austin Dillon and Daniel Hemrick. He started 31st. He finished 16th, picked up 15 place differential points. We don't need Hemrick and Austin Dillon to necessarily get 10th to 20th place finishes for them to hit value, especially being that they're going to be 60-70% on the cash. So yeah, it's hard to pass, but it's hard to pass the fast cars. It's easy to get by some of these bottom markers when you've got better equipment than these cars. So that's kind of the way I look at that. Busch Buescher or Harvick Newman for cash? I prefer Harvick Newman, Josh. Under season form on the member cheat sheet, Chase Elliott shows no wins. Let's look here. If the data pulled in wrong or something, I'm just going to follow you here. No, I'm looking at season form right now, which is I'm sorted by DraftKings scoring. So Chase Elliott is in row 11, and looking at column AY, which is wins under season form in dark blue, showing Chase Elliott with 2 wins on there. So I don't know if you're maybe looking at it wrong or it's sorted wrong for you, but on the sheet that I'm looking at, the members only consumers Energy 400, it's showing Chase Elliott with 2, Eric Jones with 0 wins. So would you pick William Byron? I keep coming back to him, and yeah, definitely like William Byron for GPP. He's starting, pretty close up front there. I'm just going to resort my page here. Yeah, starting 3rd. Didn't exactly show that top 5 speed, so I'm more inclined to use him on FanDuel. He's going to be a lot lower owned on DraftKings. I think, he's shown he can get those top 5 finishes, so he's going to be a low owned GPP play for me on DraftKings. I'll have a little bit more exposure on FanDuel where that place differential downside isn't going to hurt you as much, but definitely like William Byron. Should you play Dillon and Hemrick? I would say yes, because they're going to be high owned. If you're playing cash games, they're going to be 60-70% owned, maybe even higher. And when it comes to GPP, they're going to be 40-50% owned, maybe even higher. They've got elite place differential value. Like I said, a 25th place finish gets them 12 points. So it doesn't take much for them to get that double-digit place differential. And at 6,400 for Hemrick, only 7,100 for Dillon, you put those two together, you can pretty much go any way you want. You can throw another value guy in there and then go 3 top-tier guys and have a very, very good-looking lineup. So, yes, those 2 are definitely in play, and you shouldn't be fading them. 100%, never 100% fade them in that spot. Like I said, if I'm going to fade them, I'm going to be fading them on FanDuel where the place differential isn't as big of a thing. Brad or Harvick? Yeah, talked about Harvick. He's my top play. Brad, not so much. I talked about Brad versus Harvick starting on the front row together. Brad narrowly edged him out in qualifying to get the pole, but Harvick has shown the dominant car all weekend, while Brad Keselowski was 18th in practice 2, 13th in practice 3, 11th in 10-lap averages in that final practice, and only 8th in 10-lap averages in that first practice on Saturday. So while Harvick led the second practice, he was first in 5, 10, 15-lap averages. He was 3rd in final practice and 3rd in 10-lap averages there as well. So it's Harvick over Keselowski all day for me. I think that maybe pushes, because I'm going to have to look at some ownership projections. I think that maybe pushes Keselowski's ownership down. But if they're going to be, from what I seen late last night in some ownership projections, is Brad Keselowski is going to be higher owned than Kevin Harvick. Not quite understanding that one. If that's the case, I will have even more Harvick. I'll be checking that out after. But in my view, I think Harvick should be higher owned than Keselowski, because he's shown when he's had that fast car in practice all throughout the weekend, he's leading laps. And now that he's shown that he can close the deal and win the race, I'm definitely on board. Newman and Jones, yeah, Jones, number 2 in my overall model, starting 16th, gives you place differential value. He's shown top 5 winning upside all through practice on Saturday. Ryan Newman, definitely a core play for me. 7,900 on DK, only 83 on FanDuel. Didn't show the best practice speeds in the first Saturday practice after qualifying 20th, but he finished. He was 11th in final practice, 10th in 10-lap averages, and I believe he was, like I said, 6th in 5-lap averages there as well. And coming back to a track, last 5 races, sure, he's only got 1 top 10, but he's starting 20th, so we're looking for like a 10th to 20th place finish. And he's finished inside. Okay, so he's finished. Let's go back. This is a long. So his last 17 races here, he's finished inside the top 20 every time but one. 22nd was there. In there as well, he's got 5, 6, 7 top 10s in there, and it looks like about 13 top 15s. So I'm all over Newman this week in all formats. I think you can use him in cash games, especially on FanDuel with only 8,300. I think he's going to be lower owned because of the Austin Dillon, Daniel Hemrick thing. And I like seeing that sometimes, seeing that Dillon and Hemrick when I'm building GPP lineups. Yes, I will use them in some core lineups, but then I'll start building contrarian lineups and looking at pivots. Like I said, Chris Buescher, pivot off of Austin Dillon, right there in the exact same price range. I think they've got the same upside. I think Buescher's maybe even got more upside than Dillon, especially on FanDuel, where that place differential isn't as important. Then you look at Daniel Hemrick. I will be pivoting off him with Matt DiBenedetto, Ty Dillon, Ryan Preece. Those are 3 drivers that I'll pivot off Hemrick on both sites for GPP, just to be a little bit contrarian. If Hemrick gets caught up in a crash early and finishes at the back of the pack, you're going to be way ahead. DiBenedetto's shown that he's been a lot better this year in that, with Joe Gibbs racing in there as a technical alliance. So I'm definitely on board with that. He's been getting better lately. He started in 27th. He's shown, upwards of top 20 upside. I think he can probably even get up there in 15th to 20th place upside. Ty Dillon started in 21st, showed top 15 upside. Ryan Preece starting 29th, showed about 20th to 25th place upside. So I like all those guys as pivots off Hemrick for sure. I'm more inclined to pivot off Hemrick because, he hasn't done as much as Dillon, over the season lately for their careers kind of thing. So I'm looking more to pivot off Hemrick than I am Dillon. Dillon's been getting in some bad luck lately, but like I said, even if he gets up there and finishes 25th this week, that's 12 bonus points for him. And he showed that he got a lot of speed, although it was maybe a little bit to do with the alternator, but still, I think he's got a 15th to 20th place car for his upside. If Kyle Busch top 5 without dominating, will it be enough? Yes, because he's starting 22nd. If he finishes top 5, that's at least 17 place differential points. You're only going to see maybe 3, 4, 5 at most drivers with place differential, double-digit place differential upside this week. And if he finishes top 5, which he's well more than capable of doing, like I said, that's 17 double-digit place differential points. So that's big. So definitely keep that in mind. So I think that is enough for him to pay off his value, or pay off his price tag, especially on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's all the way up to 15.5. So he kind of needs a top 5 finish. He needs to finish up there to beat Harvick. If Harvick wins the race, you need Kyle Busch second for him to hit his value on FanDuel. Don't really have the data on PJ1 compound just because each track does it different, so it's not really worth looking at it. Some tracks put it on the bottom groove, some put it on the middle groove. Every track's different banking. Every track's different turns. Everything's different about every different track, so I'm really not looking at it saying, okay, well, these are drivers that have done good with the PJ1 compound. Not looking at that really at all as something in my model or something I even made notes about this week. I more or less just watched practice here at Michigan and looked at the drivers that were using it. And it was Kyle Busch at the end. The first practice before qualifying, no one was really touching it because they're not going to be using it in qualifying. Got there a little bit more. And like I said, Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson are 2 that I'm looking at. Kyle Busch used it a lot at the end of yesterday's final practice. So definitely be looking at him a little bit more. Yes, Larson's a good play. Talked about him, starting 17th, gives you place differential upside. He showed top 5, top 10 upside, so definitely a good play. And if you check out either on rotopros.com in our member chat or dfsr.com in our member chat, I have a members-only cheat sheet. It has all my highlighted plays on there as well, so a little bit extra. Green are the core plays, blue are the GPP/secondary plays, yellow are my value plays. And you can get that members only cheat sheet with all my top plays in the Slack chat for RotoPros or in the DFSR.com member chat as well. Would you fade Menard? Right now I have 0 Menard. I've got Busher and Dillon right above him. I got, like I said, Matty D, Hemrick, Ty Dillon, and Priest below him. So I've got no Menard or Stenhouse or McDowell right now in that range. I actually have 0 Suarez either. I do think Suarez makes a good GPP play. But like, he did get in that little bit of trouble, but you know, they fixed the damage. He's showing top 5 upside. So definitely Suarez is a GPP play. I just haven't got to him yet in my lineups. How many cautions? Well, let's first of all go back and look at the June race for cautions. Normally, I think, just off the top of my head, we see a lot of green flag runs here, especially with the new package. You know, it's not a place we're going to see. You want crashes and lots of cautions next week at Bristol. Sign up. Okay, so cautions. Yeah, only once, like literally ever at Michigan has there been 10 cautions in a race, and that was back in 2006. There was 7 this past race. I think those count the stages, so that's only 5 cautions. I'm not sure if they had a competition caution at the start of that race or not. So normally it's pretty low, a lot of green flag runs. So you're going to want to target cars who are good in the 5-10, getting up into the 15 and 20 lap averages, guys with good long run cars. Kurt Busch thoughts. Definitely on Kurt Busch. Got him marked as a core play. Starting 13th, showing top 10 upside. Going back, you know, looking at this track, he's got the 2nd best average finish to his brother Kyle Busch over the last 5 races, going back to the start of 2017. He's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s in that time, and he hasn't finished worse than 20th in the last 9 races, and he's got a win in there as well. 3 top 5s in that time. 6th or better in 3 straight here. So Kurt Busch is definitely a core play for me. Him and Kyle Larson being teammates, I think we see them work together a little bit as well. We've got them starting 13th and 17th, so they're going to be pretty close together. I think we see them working together kind of in a draft and pushing each other. So there's that little bit of advantage, and I would consider stacking them as well. Yeah, I think Harvick dominates. Like I said, if Harvick doesn't dominate, I think we see Harvick lead 40, 50 laps, and then we see another driver lead. I'm having a tough time really narrowing down. My outside second dominator outside of Harvick is going to be Alex Bowman. He was 17th in short run speed in that 1 lap times in the first practice on Saturday, but he showed top 5. He was 5th in 10 lap averages. And then 10 lap averages. And then you get into that final practice. He was 2nd overall, 4th in 10 lap averages. He's showing a ton of speed. Him or Eric Jones. Bowman and Jones would be my outside guys, because I don't really see. I think Keselowski could get out there, but he just hasn't shown the speed. I mean, if he gets out there, I think Harvick can get by him after 5 laps, when they're showing quite a bit of difference in speed after 5 laps, 10 laps, and 15 laps. I just see Harvick has the better car and can be able to get by him, even if Keselowski is able to get a good restart off the start of the race and maybe make a block and lead that line. That's going to be the big thing, is who can get out there, clear that other car. And as soon as you clear that car and get out front, I think you're not going to get way, 4 seconds out front. But like we've seen with Logano, you're kind of blocking the line. You're going across to block the top line, then you're coming down to block the bottom line. Logano was able to do that the whole entire race and lead 160 plus laps here. So I think Harvick can do that. I mean, going back and looking at, I'm going to bring up this practice times. What about Jones? Yeah, core play for me. I'm going to bring up that practice speeds from that June race here again. Don't know why I didn't just leave that up. Michigan. Okay, so practice times. I wanted to look at Logano. He was 4th and 12th in this practice, so he showed a strong car throughout the weekends. Let's look at his 10-lap averages in those. He was 4th in that opening practice in June in 10-lap averages. And then in the final practice, we go down, and he actually lacked long-run speed in that final practice. He was down in, it looks like, about 12th or 13th. But for the most part, he showed a dominant car. So Harvick's got that, so I think Harvick does that here this week. GPP is staying away from Team Penske. I have more exposure to Stewart Haas, JGR this week. I don't currently have any Keselowski or Logano or Blaney. They just didn't really show me enough speed yet where I could get, throughout the weekend, plus their qualifying times. They're not giving you that place differential. So what you need from them, especially Keselowski starting from the pole, is you're going to need them to make major adjustments to their car to have that speed. Because it's not like they had the speed in one practice and not in the other, like Kyle Busch, who had top 3 speed in the first practice on Saturday, but outside the top 15, top 20 in the final practice. They weren't really good in either practice. Kyle Busch can draw from his notes from that opening practice, set up the car with that information, whereas Keselowski, Logano, Blaney, not so much Blaney. Blaney showed top 10 speed in final practice in short run and long run speed, but Logano was short run speed in the first practice on Saturday, but didn't have long run speed in either of the practices. So they don't really have a whole bunch of long run speed notes, I guess, to pull off of is what I'm getting at. So I'm staying away for the most part. Like I said, I'll go with Blaney more than the other two just because he showed a little bit more speed in that final practice, especially in long run speed. And he's also cheaper on both sites, especially on FanDuel and those other two. So if you want to get some exposure there, I like Blaney for GPP, but all of them GPP only for me. Well, we talked about cash lineups quite a bit. I talked about going balanced. You could go with like Bowman, Kurt Busch, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, Ryan Newman in the middle. You can go more stars and scrubs because you've got Hemrick, Austin Dillon. And then you can get two of like Harvick and Kyle Busch up there. You can get the Dominator guy. You can get the place differential guy. And then, Hemrick and Dillon, you can go stars and scrubs. So there's many ways you can go with cash. I personally don't play cash. So definitely, if you're on DraftKings, try and get some place differential upside in there. I would probably lean Kyle Busch because of that. But like I said, you can go stars and scrubs and get Busch and Harvick together. But I would try and get Austin Dillon and Hemrick in your lineup just because of that elite place differential upside. Who am I fading? I just kind of talked about that. Keselowski and Logano fading. Stenhouse, Menard, McDowell. Those are drivers I don't have any in my lineups. Jimmy Johnson, he's on my fade list. So I'm just going to scroll up, go through a few more questions here that I maybe glossed over or missed here. And then I'm going to go build some lineups. So none that I see. In GPP, I don't really see them reaching 60-70%. That's more cash game projected ownership. I think they're probably more around the 50-50, 40 to 55% range in GPP, especially Dillon. Hemrick's probably a little bit lower, just maybe not because he's cheaper. I mean, you get a $700 discount with him on DraftKings, so maybe he's not that much lower in ownership. But Dillon's definitely got the better track record overall. I would say he's the better driver overall. So I'm definitely looking at Dillon a little bit more than Hemrick here, but both are going to be high owned. So yeah, just kind of overview. A couple of my core plays. I think for my top place differential play is going to be Kyle Busch. Very expensive, but he showed top 5 speed. I think they can draw from that speed. He was up there in the PJ1 compound. I think he can get up to the top 10 easily before the first stage is done. Kevin Harvick, I think I don't think he is my top dominator this week. He's shown a top 3 speed car all weekend. Like to see that consistency throughout the weekend. When he's done that, he has led laps. Like I said, now that he's broke through with a win, I think he's going to be strong again. I like Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones, Martin Truex, pretty much the whole JGR. I think you can pick any of them. They all give you that place differential. They've all got speed. They work well together. I think we see them work well together on the track. Alex Bowman, going into the mid-range. Love this mid-range, as you'll see on my sheet. Alex Bowman, Kurt Busch, Boyer, Jones, Larson, Newman. I will have lots of exposure to them. Daniel Suarez, I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to. Not as much right now. That might change here as we lead up to lineup lock. We've got about 3 hours, it looks like, to build lineups. Chris Buescher, Austin Dillon. I think Buescher's more of a GPP pivot for me because Austin Dillon's going to be so high owned. I will have some lineups and I will run them both, though. Down into the value range, guys I'm looking at, DiBenedetto, Daniel Hemrick, obviously with that elite place differential. Ty Dillon and Priest and DiBenedetto are more the pivots off of Hemrick and his high ownership. And like I said earlier, if you want to pivot in GPPs off some of these high ownership guys, Austin Dillon, Daniel Hemrick especially, I'm more inclined to pivot off of Hemrick than Dillon, just because in my mind Dillon is the better racer. He's got more experience. He's been better here. Hemrick was good, don't get me wrong, but I'm just more inclined to fade Hemrick. I mean, it's only a one-race sample size for Hemrick here at Michigan. He's very good. He started 11th, finished 12th. And then we look at Austin Dillon. You pull that up. He's got 14 races under his belt here at Michigan. So talk about with the experience. He's had 4 top 10s in his last 8 races, so 50% chance top 10s there. 50% top 10 rate. And those other races that weren't top 10s were 16th, 14th, 27th, 26th. So that's kind of why I was talking about if he gets to 25th position, that's that 12 bonus, it's bonus points, but the place differential points. And he has not finished. 30th was his worst finish here in 14 career races. 27th and 26th are next in line, and then 24th, 22nd. So I think 20th to 25th is easy for Dillon to get to, so I will have exposure to him. I'm not looking to fade him as much as Hemrick. Yeah, Adam, we've gone over Hemrick and Dillon a lot. He's got elite place differential, and he's only 6,400 on DraftKings. He literally, if he finishes 28th, he gets 10 place differential points. And I do, like I said, he started 11th, finished 12th here in June. So he has shown that he's been good with this new package on this track. So I think, him and Dillon are both, I think they're easily, barring a crash, mechanical failures, anything like that, easily 25th place cars. Both of them. That's double-digit place differential for drivers that are in the 7K or less range. Yes, they are musts this week because they allow you to either jam in another lower price guy and go with 3 top price guys, or just those 2 and go with a more balanced lineup. So on DraftKings, I think they're musts. Like I said, I'm going to fade in a few to be contrarian, but I'm also building 50 lineups. I'm going to have my 50%, 50% of them in GPP to have as much as the field. I'm not going to be underweight on them. I'm not going to be overweight on them. I may be a little bit underweight on Hemrick. Probably going to be right with the ownership on Austin Dillon. Kurt Busch, yeah, talked about him. He's in my core plays. Okay, well, that almost wraps it up. If you're not a DFSR.com customer or a RotoPros customer, make sure to get over to either of those sites, DFSR.com, RotoPros.com. We've got free trials on both sites. You can come in and check it out. Me personally, I cover NASCAR, PGA, MLB, NFL. Starts in 3 weeks here, 2 to 3 weeks. Got a bunch of prep coming up for that. Lots of shows for both sites as well. Articles, lots of stuff coming up. So definitely hit me up in one of those chat rooms. And you can also hit me up with some questions on Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9 or in the video below here as well. Leave your comments. Hit like and subscribe. That really helps a lot. I appreciate this many people coming in week after week and listening to me ramble on about NASCAR for an hour. It's amazing. Once I get the screen sharing thing figured out, as well as maybe a couple people, be trying to get some guests on, talking some NASCAR as well. I've got some people lined up. I just have to get everything on the back end figured out, and got some exciting things coming down the line in the future when it comes to these videos. So stay tuned. Oh, Gary, yes. How did I forget about hockey? I've got the hockey sheet all prepped and ready. I'm going to be adding some things just like with NASCAR and the PGA sheet for anyone that follows DFSR and RotoPros. I've got the members only sheets now. I've added a ton of stuff. I've put hours and hours and hours of work into my sheets, adding little things that help out the research. And to kind of say thanks to the members that are out there, I've created these members only sheets, which only DFSR and RotoPros members get. And that's just, time is money. I put a lot of work into this stuff, so I really wanted to reward the people that that signed up for those two sites, the two sites that I work for. So thank you very much. Your guys' support is absolutely amazing. Oh, you're in Montana. Yeah, heck, I go through Montana so much. We anytime I pretty much go to a race on the West Coast, we drive down. I'm about 6 hours, 6.5 hours north of Billings. So we fly Allegiant Air out of Billings a ton. You know, going to Vegas, Phoenix, LA. This NFL coming into Vegas. Actually, I just heard Allegiant Air bought the rights to name the stadium for the Raiders. So they're going to be there. So I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of Allegiant deals. So I'm going to be jumping on board with that. I absolutely love it. It's cheaper for us to drive that 6 hours, jump on a cheap Allegiant flight, and go down, even with hotel rooms. It's absolutely amazing. It makes going to the races so awesome. Anyways, enough about that. That's more for you know, my travel video podcasts or video casts, which I have not yet started. My mother thinks it's a great idea to let people know about your experiences when you go to these tracks. So thanks, Mom. I'll get right on that. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone, for tuning in. Like I said, hit me up, RotoPros, DFSR, Twitter in the comments below, and I will help you out. We got about 3 hours to lineup block, so let's go make some lineups. Let's get some green screens. Let's crush it this week. Cheers, everyone. Talk to you later.